Hey, what's up guys? It's your boy Benzi, and I'm making a quick video on my current Magicka Templar setup. I'm on the PTS server, just because it's too lazy to switch back to live, but basically everything still stands. I might change this build when PTS hits, but generally speaking, this is what I'm currently using. I enjoy it. I have variations, but essentially I'm going to teach you guys tier builds, and I'm going to explain this build. So I think before we get into it, let's just explain tier builds. Tier 1, there's three types of builds: tier 1 build, tier 2 build, and tier 3 build. So tier 1 build, tier 1 build generally implies that your armor sets and bonuses are going to be optimized towards min-maxing. So 2-piece, 3-piece, and sometimes 4 or 5-piece bonuses are optimized and used in these setups in order to achieve the highest for a Magicka build, the highest Magicka recovery, the highest spell damage, the highest max mana ratio. A tier 2 build, so tier 1 essentially is a build with a Magicka build or stamina build with the best stats possible. There's very few gear sets that can be substituted. It's kind of like not necessarily a meta setup, but it's like a setup of very specific gears that you can run to achieve the best stats possible. A tier 2 build would be something like 5 Kaggernox armor pieces and 2 Engine Guardian. I'm sacrificing, potentially a 2, 3, whatever. I'm sacrificing 2 armor pieces and maybe my weapons. So technically a 4-set bonus I'm sacrificing for, Engine Guardian, which gives me, 1-piece health recovery, which isn't great at all, but the passive 10% chance to spawn an engine and return like 13k resources is something that considers this a 5 kegs and 2 Engine Guardian setup, a tier 2 build, a build that requires a situational use or a non-permanent use. So maybe if I had Alchemist and let's say 4-piece Magnus head, shoulders, and weapons, that would also be a tier 2 build. And then, so generally speaking, I'm gonna have less spell damage, less Magicka recovery. Where are my stats? Let's go over here. I'm gonna have less spell damage, less Magicka recovery, and I doubt I'll have less max Magicka than a tier 1 build. So in a 1v1 sense, they would have the advantage in blowing me up. They would have the advantage in out-sustaining me. The advantage obviously is like, it's not, you can't define tier 1 builds better than tier 2 builds by any means, but generally speaking they have higher stats, so technically they would have higher damage and better sustain. But we all know Engine Guardian's OP when it procs Magicka or Stamina or something like that, so tier 1 would be sets completely devoted to max stats. Tier 2 is like if you want to throw in an Engine Guardian in there, or maybe an Alchemist, which is, to be honest, I consider Alchemist and Vicious Death a tier 3 setup for a build. So looking at a tier 3 build, which is what I'm going to show you today, my Magicka Templar is currently tier 3. Tier 3 builds are like tier 2 builds where they use actives such as Engine Guardian or Fasala, which is what I use. They use actives in their build to achieve what they want to do, whether you want to tank, whether you want to heal, DPS, whatever. So Ganker would probably run Alchemist and other sets like Kina and Blitzpawn or whatever, depending on their stamina, if they're stamina or Magicka, to get the max stats possible in order to blow people up. Fortunately, Alchemist only lasts like 15 seconds or something like that. So what do you do for the 30 seconds? You have crappy stats that a tier 1 build, if a tier 1 build survives the initial burst, he'll whoop your ass, just because he has superior stats, and equally skilled players with different stats, you can kind of determine who has the advantage, right? So this probably sounds like a lot, but all you need to keep in mind is the more actives you put into your build, the less reliable you are in situations, in multiple situations. So I'm running Engine Guardian because I've mentioned this before in my other build video. I'm not going to go too much into depth while I'm running things, but Engine Guardian, I love repenting robots, dead people. It gives me stamina, lets me tank. I'm squishy. without it. I'm squishy without the recovery. We still have the 5 kegs. I'm going to be switching this out and playing with other things. But basically, this is the best min-max setup for Magicka build if you do not value critical rate. Otherwise, Julianus would probably be on par. I think Julianus is more PvE related. So 5 keg for the min-max, best min-max potential. 2 engine because I just find the utility insanely overpowered. Something I gain tankiness, something that spell damage, recovery, and max Magicka wouldn't give me. 5 Fasala, so I got this Fasala sword and shield. Sorry, mace and shield. Traits are pretty random. I got defending on the maul and Mundos on the shield. Too bad I didn't get impenetrable. And then duels Fasala swords, because really on a Magicka build you don't want to run anything other than swords. Daggers give you weapon crit, and mauls armor penetration, blah blah blah, and axis bleeding. You know the drill. So I have the Fasala swords, the Fasala jewelry, and basically what I do with this set is I try pulling as many people onto me, preferably melees. I gain line of sight so that I don't get dunked on by 10 sorks, and I can just focus on who's on top of me. And I abuse the Fasala debuff. Now it used to be a 4-second heal debuff, which was incredibly strong in the Thieves Guild PTS, but it got reduced to 2 seconds, which is it's okay. It's when this set works, it's awesome. When it doesn't, it's just handicap. I basically play handicap with a handicap 80% of the time I'm in Cyrodiil. Which sounds stupid, but I don't care. Like, I don't want to run meta shit, and I think this build's interesting. So, the second and third trait obviously give max health, and like I explained in my other build video, I'm going to post in the description, because these builds are very similar. I use the same mechanics for tanking. The only difference is I sacrificed my willpower jewelry, which gave me more min-max spell damage Magicka, for more max health, healing received, which actually, that 4% healing taken, I calculated, it makes a huge difference in the lack of spell damage I lost from switching the willpower jewelry out. So the 4% kind of catches me up on the spell damage, on my healing strength, compared to the spell damage I had with the willpower set. So that I get 2,054 health, and yeah, 2,054 health, 4% healing increased, and 50% healing debuff to enemies, which is really nice if you're getting zerged, because you can, in a lot of situations, I find myself able to just put my channel focus down, put my purifying ritual down. I'm getting heals over time, I'm getting physical and spell resistances, and I can just like out jab like sometimes 2, 3, 4, like 8 people, depending on their build and their DPS and their skill level. But basically, I just out DPS them. They don't realize they're heal debuffed. I'm healing with my jabs, so I don't have to switch over my other bar and heal, and I could just DPS them to the floor. Sometimes they expect their healers in their group to heal them, and this 50% heal debuff, that's where it shines. This is when you're debuffing their healing effectiveness when they aren't healing themselves. So that's, taking on groups is very, very possible with the Fasala set. I think it would be more wise to run Vicious Death if you're going to be taking on groups, but I don't know. I'm going to swap this out for Vicious Death and Kaggernax for Transmutation, and I think my stats will be less min-maxed significantly, but I have a plan. So basically what we're taking from this is a tier 3 build, and keep in mind what kind of build you want to run. If you're looking for really high stats, this isn't the build for you. If you're looking for a tier 2 build, maybe you want to take out the Fasala because it's too situational, you don't know when to use it and how to benefit the most out of it, and you want to put something more reliable in, like maybe willpower or another set you have. But keep in mind, this is a tier 3 build, and this is the build I've used in my past 2 videos. One with Bellatrix, the 2vx with Bellatrix, and the 2vx with Jedi Mind Tricks. It's spamming PMs right now. The spells. Okay, so Puncturing Sweeps, Toppling Charge, Radiant Glory. I think the heal is way better than the extra damage because the spell already hits like a truck. Dark Flare. I need the spell to kill Sorks because my spell damage sucks. So, gotta have this in my opinion for this setup. If you're not running a tier 1 build, you'll need bursty spells to kill those shield sackers, in my opinion. Instruction tree for the max health on my offensive bar, so I can just heal at absurd amounts of max health. And Dawnbreaker. Keep in mind, guys, Dawnbreaker got nerfed this update. It doesn't do 60% more damage to undead, but there's a fighter guild passive that increases damage to undead by 20%. So technically, it's only a 40% damage decrease to undead, which I think it balances the game a little bit. But keep in mind, Dawnbreaker Smiting adds the knockdown, which is a CC, which is awesome, and the other morph, the weapon damage one, gives just weapon damage, no CC at all. Okay, Proxy Det again. The base damage got nerfed to shit, but I think the max, if you hit 10 people, it does the same damage as it currently does in our current update. So it's less of a 1v1 spell, more of a 1vx. I might take this off and put Blazing Shield on if I move around my CP, or I might put on Sunfire. Sunfire is a very nice spell, not Sunfire. I've only read up to that and decided to make this video because I was so excited, but stop it. Okay, I'm uploading a lot of videos today, so getting zerg right now. What was I saying? So Vampire's Bane's the one I would get for a 1v1. The dot lasts forever, lasts 12 seconds, which is a really long snare, and the damage is pretty good. So it's over 1,000 damage per second. Reflective Light, I'd probably run if I want to use Valkynscoria. It puts 3 dots on 3 enemies, or 1 dot on 3 enemies. That doesn't make sense. I mean, it applies 3 dots to 3 different people. So this is a lot better with Valkynscoria. Repentance for that tankiness. Honor of the Dead's the goddamn, is the better healing morph by far. And since Breath of Life can only heal 1 extra ally, I think Honor of the Dead's even better this update. Channel Focus for the Magicka recovery, because I do lack max stats. I do need that Magicka recovery, and it gives you the spell resistance and physical resistance you need to tank. Costs nothing to cast, and it gives a crazy amount of magic recovery. I strongly recommend this too. Divine Swarm for like those oh shit moments where my jabs aren't healing enough against multiple enemies. I just pop bats, and the less time I spend tanking, the better off I am, because this is a DPS oriented setup, and I'm relying on damage mitigations and sword and shield to keep me up. My stamina pool isn't very large, and I could potentially, if I don't manage my stamina, I can get dropped really quickly. So not staying on my so avoiding like tanking on my sword and shield bar and allowing me to deal damage puts my enemies on the defensive, and that's how you tank in some cases, is you just put up a lot of offensive damage and you just avoid having to take it back. And that's what Facade helps me do. When I go offensive and they try dealing damage back, they get heal debuffed, and that can really screw people over in some situations. So I'm gonna just put Proxy Det on my bar because this is running on live, and I'd recommend Proxy Det on live, by the way. That's my build, guys, but we're gonna get into another change I wanted to mention. Ritual of Retribution is the purifying ritual of our current update. It doesn't remove 5 negative effects anymore, it removes 2, which is kind of shitty. But we have a passive that reduces enemy movement speed by 30% if they stand in our AoEs, like these ones over here. So we can kite people with our AoEs now, and this morph also does dot damage if enemies stand in our AoE, which is a pretty small amount of dot damage. I think we got nerfed heavily by the spell removing less negative effects, but PTS was just launched, and I'm giving you the build as is. This setup right now is pretty strong in our current update. And I had a couple people ask me what I was running, so this is just to those people who are curious. So nothing changes. This would be Purifying Ritual, but it got a name change to Ritual of Retribution, so keep that in mind. I think pots are a large part of this build. I don't even know where my tab is. Okay. I run tripods sometimes. Mostly I use major expedition potions for that 30% movement speed for 40 seconds. It makes me less of a target. I mean, I can run away with this pot, and it gives invincibility for 13 seconds and stamina for extra blocking. So this is a really good potion just to use in combat. You being able to bounce around the battlefield is really helpful, especially if you're trying to grab somebody who's running away, or if you're trying to get away, if you're trying to make it to line of sight. It's just, movement speed pots are strongly recommended. Movable pots are decent. Tripods are really good too, because I lack recovery on this build, and stamina will help me tank longer. So quickly through the CP, we got 10 into blocking just to get some of that extra stamina, save that extra stamina. We got 20 into resistance. Not sure why I don't have more. I guess that makes sense. I have 20 into resistance. I'd recommend like 70 if you don't want block expertise or quick recovery. And then I got 60 into elemental defender, 60 into hardy. Again, 60 or 70 into here, into these two if you really want to. I don't recommend going past 70. Kind of diminishing returns kind of screws you over when there's so many other good defensive passives. So we had 10, 28, 60, 60. We don't really benefit from Unchanged, by the way, as Magicka classes. 9 into quick recovery just for that 4%, almost 4% increased healing. 21 into Magician. Probably should take 10 out of that. Magician's not really good past 11-ish, or 15, 11 to 15. 10 into Mooncalf. I would probably run a lot more into Mooncalf if I was running two-hander. Maybe to take some out of Arcanist and put it into Mooncalf. Because in my other build, two-hander allows me to get a crazy amount of stamina recovery, which amounted to a crazy amount of tankiness. I have 20 into Tumbling. Tumbling doesn't really scale well. It's like 0.2 or less. So that really sucks, but I have some into Elusive. I think the 8% fear, snare, stun, and disorient reduction is useful, not all the time, but in some situations where you go to stam and you get hit by something that will screw you over. This is more of a 1vx passive, and it's not OP or anything. I just think 20 into here would be a lot more wise than an extra 20 into Tumbling. In a math sense, the extra benefit from 20 into here isn't worth, being saved when you're out of stam and you got a couple people beating on you, finishing you off kind of thing. So I think Elusive is pretty nice, but it's your choice if you want to put Elusive into other recoveries. I'm kind of solid on my passives here in terms of what I picked. Not solid. I'm firm on what I picked here. I have 25 into Blast, 25 into Elfborn, 75 into Elemental Expert, and 36 into Thaumaturge. Basically, all of our spells are dots as Templars, except for Toppling Charge. And Thaumaturge will greatly increase your damage. Elemental Expert, obviously, because we're a Magicka build. And I think that's about it. Other than that, guys, if you're curious, I'm running Atronach, Stage 4 Vampirism, and Max Purple Food. Other than that, my buff spell damage is like 2700. My recovery is pretty garbo, but Channel Focus helps out with that. And my max health is 30k, my Sword Shield 2k on my dual wield with Emperorship. I think we have Emp on this campaign. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you around, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.